Two, and we're going. All right. So,
Hello.
welcome, Rachel.
Hello.
Welcome.
Here.
Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? That's a loaded question. No. I am, first and foremost, I think I'm most well known for being a woman in recovery. So I am also a wife. I'm a daughter, all that good stuff. But first and foremost, I like to always kind of talk about how being in recovery kind of gave me everything I have today. So that's a huge thing for me. I also run a platform, an Instagram called Shots to Shakes, which is sort of like a microblog slash journal. I always, in the early days, I called it Musings of a Retired Blackout Artist because it was basically my observations, lessons learned, things like that as I went through sobriety. And now it is kind of grown into this whole mental health advocacy platform. I talk a lot about sobriety and how we can make it more not mainstream, but just more understood by people. That's my biggest thing, is just education and awareness. So that is the biggest thing that I do. And I'm also a weightlifter. I have a rescue dog, and I am literally taking it 24 hours at a time.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, I know.
At a time. Yeah, geez, especially for people in recovery. Like sometimes, especially in the beginning, it's like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's all they told us was don't think about like your cousin's friend's sister's wedding like 2 years from now. Just think about not taking a drink today.
right? Yeah. Sometimes it's hard. And like
Yeah.
today, like, yeah. Anyways, so obviously to be, in recovery, like what made you stop drinking?
I always say that it kind of chose me just because I think the biggest red flag was the fact that I would try to moderate, and I'm a very high achiever. Like I was called gifted in school. So I was very much like under the impression that if I just put my mind to it, I can do it, which is usually the case in a lot of things. But I actually didn't start drinking until college. I was very sheltered in high school. So once I got to college, I was very much like, oh my gosh, this magical thing that makes me more attractive at parties and actually invites me to parties and all this stuff. It was kind of like my golden ticket in. And I all of a sudden started to be the person where I would always say it was bad luck, but all these things would start happening to me. I would get in trouble. My first night of college, I actually got written up by RAs twice within like 2 hours. So that should have been a warning sign. I know.
For drinking?
For drinking, yeah. I
Okay.
was hanging out with some upperclassmen that I knew from my high school, and they came in because we were all underage. Sorry, Mom. But that happened. And we were like, okay, well, let's move to another dorm party or whatever. And then the same RAs came into that and busted that up. I was just like, oh my, like I'm 18 years old. I'm a baby, like literally my first day of freshman year. I'm just like, oh my God. So I should have probably known by then, okay, maybe this isn't the best thing for me, but kept going. And I noticed a lot of red flags in terms of, like I said, I wasn't able to moderate. Once I took that first drink, it was off to the races, no matter how good I tried to be, because I tried everything. I tried like spacing out my drinks, trying only one kind of liquor or wine for the night, all like everything you could think of, I did. And it started to get progressively worse, especially like senior year / after graduation. So I would start secretly drinking. I would lie about whether or not I drank or how much I had to drink. A lot of friends and family showed concern, but I would become very defensive because I knew in my heart that this was not doing anything for me beneficially, but I had just been raised to believe, so like it is so ingrained that this thing is needed to be social or be flirty or do anything. Pretty much it's kind of like ingrained into every aspect of our society. So I was so scared because I was like, okay, or in my head I thought, oh my God, everyone is able to handle this thing, but I'm not. So does that mean I'm like an outcast? I'd be exiled to an island or something? And it was really tough. So I took the sobriety plunge in January 2016. That was I call it my surrender date. Obviously not my sober date, but my surrender date. And it has been such a huge, like, I feel like I've learned more in 3 years than I have the first 18 years of my life, just because it is such a mental spirit, like it encapsulates every part of your body when you're in recovery. I think you can attest to that too. And I ended up having to I chose to check into rehab 2 years ago, just kind of as a final, okay, like I do not know what I'm doing. Obviously it got really intense. So I was like, this is the best path for me right now. And so I did that. And as of yesterday, I am 500 days sober.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
That's way awesome.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. It's really something to be definitely proud of.
Thank you. And I'm very proud of it. But at the same time, I also have to remember, like, I'm not special. I just had to learn tools, and that's what I tried to pay it forward a lot with my account.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, like I'm nobody special. Like, fuck, I have been in recovery since 2013. And like, when I think I got it, and I'll, like, my old behavior start coming back, and then pretty soon I'm sticking a needle in my arm. I'm fucking
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
One day, well, it was so funny actually. When I checked into rehab, it was because I had done an attempt on my life. And it's funny now because, you know, you have to laugh at things. But when I woke up, I was 5150, which is you're involuntarily committed to a hospital. And I woke up in a little cot, and I had to use the sheets to, like, they didn't give me a blanket. So I just pulled the sheets out to, like, cocoon myself. And I woke up, I was like, my first thought was, well, shoot, I guess I can't moderate. Like, as if that, like I guess I can't control my drinking. Like, no shit.
Right?
So it's one of those things where, just people that have alcohol abuse or dependency, they just think differently. And that's something that I really try to tell people is, like, it's not a drinking problem, it's a thinking problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, fuck. I think when I'm not practicing spiritual principles and, like, working on, like, my self-care and stuff, like, I will blow up my life worse than when I overdosed on heroin. Like, it fucking.
Oh yeah.
It's
ridiculous. Like, it's so crazy how much recovery is not just not using the drug of choice or alcohol of choice. Like, people think that all the time, where it's like, oh, we'll just stop drinking. It's like, okay, cool. Like, thanks, Carol, I'm cured.
Right. When I went to treatment in 2013, I was just going for heroin. Just get off heroin.
Yeah.
Like, just go, and then, like, I'll have booze. Like, booze will be my safety net. Like, and then somebody mentioned, like, well, every time I drink, I relapse on drugs. I'm like, holy fuck, that's me. And I'm glad that I heard that, because if I started drinking, like, I would.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's not about me. This is about you. So you just came out with a book on your birthday.
I did. It is an ebook. It's I wanted to be, like, official ebook on Amazon, but I did it PDF style, and I'm still kind of a newbie to learning how to convert stuff. So it's PDF right now. Maybe ebook, maybe hard copy in the future. But yeah, it's called Seltzer and Self-Care, and I wrote it with the kind of burnt out millennial in mind. It stems a lot of the things are for people in recovery or for people that are abstaining from alcohol, just because that is a area of expertise for me. But I mainly wrote it just because I feel like self-care is so commercialized nowadays. Like, you think of self-care, a lot of people think, oh, well, like green juice or yoga or bath salt or whatever. And it's really unfortunate, because I feel like self-care is such an integral part of at least my routine. But it's so misunderstood. So people think, oh, well, I don't want to do yoga on a beach somewhere, so I'm just not going to do self-care. But it's like, no, that's not what the only thing. And when I created the book, I did a few sections. So one of them was 4 ways to self-care for free, just because I feel like that's also another barrier, is accessibility. I know a lot of people that think, okay, well, I can't afford, these $50 face masks, so I can't self-care. It's like, no, you can do journaling, meditation, walking your dog without your phone, just being present. Like, those are all free, and they're infinitely, in my opinion, more effective than just doing a yoga pose on a beach somewhere and sipping a green drink somewhere.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. A lot of things in your book, like, one, I'm gonna try using, your 2, I already do them. I really like it because, like, why make this shit hard?
Yeah.
Why? It doesn't have to be fucking hard. Like, what you're saying in your book, It doesn't. Simple things to get to where you want to go. And if you can afford a fucking whatever
yoga retreat,
yoga retreat, then fucking go do it. But if you can't, don't stress about it. Like,
exactly. And that was the biggest thing too. I was like, you need to make it work for you, because I know so many people that, like, I'm the same way. When I put my mind to something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this. And it burns you out even more. And that's the exact opposite effect you want it to have. Because I know for me, like, when I got sober, I literally, because I was having all these things also, I was like, okay, I can't fix everything all at once. I just need to focus on not drinking. Like, that's literally all I can do right now, because that was where my mental, emotional, spiritual capacity was at.
For sure.
And so, yeah, with the whole self-care thing, I always like to parallel it to, you don't have to do everything at once. You can slowly build tools, absolutely. Like, I do multiple forms of self-care now, but just focus on this one thing. See, like, do it for a week, track it. I included a little self-care tracker just to say, like, what did you do? How long? How'd you feel during and afterwards? Just so you can see if it even works for you, because not one size fits all. It's not just, pink aesthetics and glitter bath bombs or whatever. Like, I know people that journal, they just journal, and that has helped them significantly. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure kind of thing, but just making awareness of what options are out there and what benefits they do serve.
Totally. Wait, they have glitter bath bombs?
You'd be surprised, dude. They commercialize everything. I don't get it though, because it would get glitter on your skin, right?
Right. Well, you might have just sold me on a glitter bath bomb. Just kidding.
Look it up, man. I'm sure there's an Etsy store with it, like, begging for dollars.
Right? That just sounds like a mess in your bathtub.
I know. I did actually use a pink bath bomb, and it, like, stained my tub for a week. So I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. Everyone has their thing.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd rather just, I don't know, be grounded, have my feet, like, in the sand or dirt, and just.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's called barefooting or something, or.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a thing. I can't speak, I barely know about it, but apparently it's like a version of reconnecting with nature, and it's called barefooting or something, where, like, you walk in nature barefoot.
Oh.
Supposed to, like, connect you with the earth, something. I don't know. But
okay.
that's the thing.
Right on. I obviously live in Montana, and I always took it for granted. And I'm like, I got to move to a bigger city. Got to go somewhere. I lived Spokane, Seattle, Portland, and I loved it. But I was younger, and I was drinking and using drugs, so whatever. After being homeless in Vegas in 2018, I came back home, and I just appreciate the mountains, the calmness. So now, like, I try and, like, go take a walk, like, in the woods. Like, literally, there's woods out 5 minutes from my house. And it's just really just be present in the moment. And, like, I try not to have my phone on me. I'm trying to take social media off all of my phone, because that, if I'm not being present, and if I'm not, like, focusing on me, then I can't help you. And that's just my experience.
No, totally.
Yeah. And, like, I'm so codependent. I want to help everyone.
Yes. Same.
So, yeah. And I will drown myself to try and save you, but that's not self-love. That's not self-care. That's not honoring myself. So anyways, you were talking about habits and routines. What do you have, like, a morning?
I try to. I always say that I try to. It honestly just depends. Like, for one thing that I do that I'm very proud of is I have about half an hour to 45-minute commute, which is really funny. I learned, actually, side note, that in California, we measure driving distances by hours or minutes, and then other places do it by miles, because for us, like, 5 miles can be an hour, but that's a whole different thing, which is funny. But anyway, I travel for about 30 to 40 minutes every night, every morning, after work. So my form of routine is podcasts and just getting, because I don't like listening to the radio, just because in the morning there's always, like, morning talk shows. And I'm just like, I just want to listen to music, dude. Like, I don't care about, the whatever. And so
I totally understand.
The talk shows, just like, I don't care. But I have a huge library of podcasts, whether I'm feeling like listening to something about addiction and recovery, mindset, just random stuff that I just like to know about, trivia. And that really helps me kind of just get my mind out of all the mess and the craziness, because it's so easy to wake up and check your feed and be like, oh, like something blew up last night, or just all these crazy news events that like you need to actually be aware of what you consume, because it can drain you so much. So I make sure to do that. And then when I do get to work, I usually spend like 10 to 15 minutes just in complete silence. Like I don't take out my phone. I don't take my laptop out. I just kind of sit there, breathe. Sometimes it's meditative. Sometimes I'm just staring off into space.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really important for me to at least get some silence, just because my work is so people-based and people drain me, at least people that I work with. So it's really important to me to get that sense of, okay, like I'm starting this on my terms, and then I can tackle things more easily, opposed to, you know, being woken up in a rush and then just being thrown into it.
Oh, I hate mornings like that.
Yeah. When you oversleep, you can feel like it's a totally different mood.
Yeah. So I have 2 jobs. One of my jobs is I'm on call, and sometimes I get called at like 2 a.m, and then my other job, I got to be there at like 4:35 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I oversleep when I get called out, and then I'm just like rushing out the door. I don't eat. I don't brush my teeth. My bed's not made. Mm-hmm. I'm restless, pissed off, and everyone in my work pays for it.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to them at all.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's like the more I focus on me and the more self-love and self-care that I have, it's the people around me appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Like more than I probably should appreciate it. And that's why, like, I love, you're about self-care. I really admire that. Like, not a lot of people that I see are really emphasizing on the self-care. So I think one, on a niche, on a business level, that's really cool. And 2, for the content, because especially being the same age, like what other 20-something-year-olds, you know, one, that are sober, and 2, focusing on themselves.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's so funny, because I actually was working at my old college, on Saturday in the coffee shop where I would be sober and tout, like the exact person I would want to try to speak to. And they've actually done a lot of really cool things in terms of their wellness initiatives. So there was actually a sign in the coffee shop that says "Self-care isn't selfish." And I was typing up a little thing about self-care and self-care. I was like, oh, full circle. It was so cute. But I think it's really important to be able to let people in their 20s realize, like, hey, I know that you've been raised on this whole hustle culture, you know, no days off, you got to grind like 60 hours a week kind of thing. But I always say, it's like, if you ran your car on fumes, it's not going to, like, yeah, technically it's still going, but it's going to have all these other problems that you're going to have to deal with them later. Like, it's
right.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I feel like, they always say, like, okay, we'll work 15 minutes, take a break for 10 minutes. Like, that obviously doesn't work for everyone. I know for me, when I'm in the zone, I'll work for hours at a time. But I think people kind of don't learn the difference between being in the creative flow and just working to work. So that is a huge thing that I'm still personally dealing with too. So it's really interesting to say, okay, here are my takeaways for it. I'm struggling with this, so this is going to be my game plan for this. So it's not like me telling people, oh, like, I'm right, you're wrong kind of thing. It's, hey, I'm dealing with this too. I'm 27 and I'm working 2 jobs, and I'm an Air Force wife whose husband goes away for weeks on end. Like, we all have these different struggles that constitute burnout. But I think it's really important to realize, like, we're pretty universally the same in terms of our concerns and our beliefs and all that, if that makes sense.
No, it does. At least to me, like, I definitely agree with all what you're saying. It's like before I came back from Vegas, didn't care about self-care. Did not, self-love was not my thing. I just thought being sober and going to 12-step meetings was like good enough for me, and I'm gonna treat everyone like shit because I'm sober. I got sober at 19, so fucking hear me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I feel that in terms of, like, the sense of entitlement. Like, well, I did this great thing, so everyone should respect me. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I've met many people like that in recovery. I might have acted like that too, calling myself that maybe, but yeah, no, it's one of those things. I actually touched, or I saw something really great on this today about just how it's really easy for people in sobriety to become so ego driven just because they found the solution for them. And kind of at the end of the day, you got to realize like not everyone drank or used differently. No, everyone got addicted differently. So of course everyone's going to recover differently.
Yeah, exactly. And however you do it and however I do it and however Joe Schmo do it, they do it differently. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I used to think if you're not doing it my way, then fuck you. Like, that is a very big mindset in the space. And it's like, dude, I'm already shame-filled already. You don't need to add this other thing on me. Like, give me a fucking break. Exactly. So like now that like I'm like self-care is really, really important. And I don't like saying I wish I'd started earlier, but that's one thing that I wish I did. Mm-hmm. Like focusing on myself instead of focusing on, I don't know, anything else. Like, let me take care of you. And this is going to be off topic, but I have to throw this in here. Your form for your lifts are fucking amazing.
Oh my God. Thank you. That is like, I'd much rather be complimented on my form than the weight. Just because it's so fucking technical, especially like, have you ever clean and jerked or snatched or anything like that?
No, because I am the least flexible man you will ever meet. So I'm not even going to try.
Dude, it's so technical. And that's why I think a lot of people stay away from it because it's very, so the fact that like that's actually another thing that in terms of my self-care or whatever, like great segue actually. Because my form of self-care for me is I have to ask myself, okay, do I want to zone out? Do I want to focus on something? Or do I want to release stress? Mm-hmm. And lifting conquers all three of those for me. Just because for me, sometimes if I'm just like, okay, I'm pissed, whatever, I'm just going to deadlift it out. Like that is a huge thing for me. Or if I want to focus on a more technical move, like a snatch or something where you're basically holding X amount of pounds over your head, then that allows me to get out of my own mind and just focus on literally like what my body is doing. So it's a very mind-muscle connection sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So for anyone who's looking for a form of self-care that is both beneficial kind of for other parts of their life in terms of health, physical health, mental health, emotional health, like lifting weights is fantastic.
Yeah. If I don't go to the gym, I feel it.
Yeah.
Same. My three main lifts are an overhead press, deadlift, and squat.
Those are good.
And like I would do cleans and snatches, but again, I need to stretch more, and
That's fine, dude. I still like even me. I'm pretty mobile, and I'm just like, oh my God, how do people do this?
Yeah, but I was like, damn, like when I saw that, I was like, holy her form is like good job.
Thank you.
I hate walking to the gym and I see people like deadlifting 500 pounds and they got a cat back and
oh my God, no, I don't. Oh my gosh, I need to like physically look away because it's one of those things where I feel it, you know what I mean? Like I feel it in my own back. Right. I'm like, don't do that.
Right. Who taught you how to do that?
No one taught you. That's why no one. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
But so right on. How long have you been powerlifting for?
I've been powerlifting. So for my whole fitness journey, I've been lifting weights since 2011. It was actually before like women lifting weights was mainstream. So I would be in the college gym and all these frat boys would be like, are you lost? Because I'd be the only woman in the weight room.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But I did like kind of traditional bodybuilding style lifting for a really long time. And it wasn't until about, I want to say a year and a half ago that I've actually gotten to powerlifting and Olympic lifting. Just because it was so goals and performance driven instead of aesthetics driven. And for me, I've struggled with body image for years. So to be able to say, okay, like instead of saying, oh, I want to go to the gym to work on my butt or whatever, I can be like, oh, I want to go to the gym because I want to add 5 more pounds to my deadlift today. Like that is such more metrics driven. It's not like because I can wake up one day and say, oh, I look so great. And then 24 hours later be like, I look like shit. So to be able to have very like objective, the weight's on the bar, it doesn't lie kind of thing, those kind of goals, it's so much more easier on my mind because I still get the benefits of exercise, but not the added stress of, oh my God, like my arms look fat or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. So like I'm slowly like trying to go vegan now. Because like since 2013 when I first started lifting, it was eat whatever, eat junk and just get big and deadlift 500 pounds. That was my goal. And now like I'm happy with where I'm at with my body size now. Like I was 100 pounds when I was using drugs. And now I'm 185. So like I'm happy with that size. My strengths, I'm happy. I'm content. Now I just want to be healthier. Eating McDonald's 7 times a day is not healthy. It's not taking care of me. So, and I figured if I used to, inject meth and heroin in my veins, why not go like the hardcore, the other route and be healthy? And I don't know. Like just instead of being
it's a learning curve, honestly. Like there have been times where I'm just like, I've been killing it in sobriety, but I'm eating like shit. But I'm just like, whatever. Like,
yeah,
you can't have it all at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'd like to, but.
Right. And to be honest, I ate like 3 cupcakes before we hopped on. So.
Oh, don't even worry about it. We got Wendy's before this. So.
Nice.
Yeah, no shame, no judgment.
I love it. So a quote out of your book, your desires for change has to be greater than the initial discomfort of the process. Yeah.
No, I got you.
Yeah, I kind of can't read my own handwriting, but I love that. Did you come up with that?
I can't take full credit. I don't know. I don't know if it's an actual quote or if it's more of just like a thing that's kind of tossed around in the motivational area.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so because for me, I think I originally heard it in like the fitness space.
Okay.
Losing weight or, trying new habits that they don't like, where it's like, hey, like if your health is in jeopardy or you just feel like garbage about yourself, like your desire to change that has to be greater than like, oh, I need to go to the gym at like 5 a.m. or, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, I noticed that it is so helpful in terms of breaking any habit that doesn't serve you anymore. And that's why I included it. I didn't want it to be a, how to get sober book because that's just, I wanted to expand past that. And also I know that a lot of people struggle with things that aren't necessarily substance abuse, but like online shopping or social media addiction or for me, actually, it was like checking up on ex-boyfriends. Like,
oh, yes.
Yeah, very compulsive things where just like, it's not good for you, but you can't not do it. So I wanted to include that section just because I know that a lot of people, maybe it's kind of the same thing where they know it's not good for them. It's compulsive, it's addictive, but they're like, well, shoot, like, I don't know how to stop. Yeah. So just be able to create some actionable steps and just remind you like, hey, it's not going to be butterflies and rainbows. Like it's going to fucking suck at first, but you need to have a clear why as to why you're doing it or else you're going to give up like that. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's why I included it.
I like that. Like, so for my job, like I'm on call and then with my podcast, I literally would just like wake up middle of the night and look at the analytics and be like, have my phone in my closet. Then I'd wake up and my phone's in my bed. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
you're like sleep social mediaing.
Yeah, exactly. And like send people random messages. Like sometimes it's words, sometimes it's just like letters. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, so now like I'm getting better and like having like minimal social media on my phone is.
That's really good. And turning off notifications helps too. That helped me because it's not like visually there.
I thought turning off notifications would help me, but like even though like my phone doesn't buzz, I think it buzzes. Check. So just trying not to have my phone around me and like when I'm somewhere, I'm present. Like it's just like I never thought like my phone would be an issue, but when it's like getting in the way of like my personal relationships, work, my driving, like the safety of others, it's insane. And like I think it's really cool, and I admire that you're emphasizing stuff like that, because I think especially young people who are in recovery, and not just young people in general, like they're not, I don't know really anyone who's focusing on this shit.
Yeah.
Like even people in recovery, they're like, I'm sober, all right, I'm young, I'm gonna just smoke these cigarettes and not do anything. Like, and that's like, just because you're sober doesn't mean like you can do anything.
Yeah.
Fucking literally do anything. Like, it's one reason why I want to start this podcast. Like, just like entrepreneurs and anyone who's like been through a struggle and crushing in life, but also like I've been through fucking hell and back. And like I dropped out of school in like the 6th grade, and fucking I have managed to make a career, had businesses, failed because accounting, and I relapse and yada yada.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. But like if you do, like you don't need a fucking fancy setup for a podcast. You don't need a fucking like education. I'm not saying don't go to school, but like
it's not the end all be all.
Exactly. You can fucking make shit happen.
Yeah, like, absolutely. Google's your best friend.
Yes, exactly. Google, fucking YouTube, it's insane.
Yeah.
And I think having that stigma that like you can't do anything if you don't work 60 hours a week, it's fucking bullshit. Like,
yeah. No, I completely get it, because I've had friends where I think my favorite kind of burnout story in college was it was freshman year. All these things happened freshman year. And I was in our library for finals week, very first finals week ever for me. And this guy had a fucking air mattress in the library.
What?
Air mattress. So you could sleep and study and like stay there all night.
That's a thing?
I think it was just that one guy. I think it was just really weird. But it was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I was so flabbergasted, because that is very much like, it's funny, yeah, but at the same time it's sad, like that the fact that he would have to do that. Right. So it's one of these things where I feel like it's so competitive, it is so glorified to hustle or else you'll fall behind kind of thing, or that you don't want it bad enough. Like that's another thing in gym culture too, like how bad do you want it, no excuses.
Right? Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, guys, like, yeah, maybe short term, you're going to get amazing results, but you're going to have metabolic damage, or for burnout, you're going to just snap one day, or just completely give up on something that you're passionate about just because you went too hard. And that's something I've had to learn in a lot of my endeavors, is even when after college, I got a new job at a PR firm, and it was right up my alley, paid super well. But I had to go on Xanax from stress, and I was dehydrated, all these things where I was working so hard because that was the culture of the company. So when I got married and moved with my husband, right now I'm doing a part-time job, because I know for me, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. And also I was like, I don't have the mental capacity to have a full-time job just yet. So maybe because we're going to probably move in like a year or two. So probably next place we go, I'm going to get a full-time job, but just to be able to recognize that, like, hey, yeah, technically I could work X amount of hours a week, but right now I am juggling so many things at once that would just be the straw that broke the camel's back. So definitely agree with you.
Right. Fuck. Like, so in this you probably too always get approached with like these multi-level marketing, whatever. And like, if you do it, that's fine. But like, I'm just like, no, like I'm focusing on one thing. That's my podcast right now. That's my one thing. That's all I got time for. Like, and then I was like, well, come do this. Like, no, like I don't have time. Like, I barely have time for my fucking podcast. Like, why would I have time to go down to St. George, Utah, or wherever? And like,
they all are in Utah. No, I'm laughing so hard. I actually used to be part of one like many moons ago. It was mostly just like, I didn't even really work the business part of it. I just liked it actually taught me how to like be marketable and to find my niche and stuff. But yeah, no, you're so right, where it's like, because some of them are like, yeah, like it's your fault because you didn't work hard. And I feel like, dude, Susan, I've worked like my ass off for this. And then some of them are like, oh, if you have an hour you can make this like your side hustle. I'm just like, guys, no, I don't want it.
Yeah. And like, I can't sell something that I don't believe in. If it's not going to dramatically change your life or just help you, I can't believe it. Like, I used to sell cell phones, and like I just felt like the used car salesman. Like, I know this family can't afford the new iPhone. My manager needs this quota, so I'm going to make them buy the phone. I'm going to convince them to buy this phone when I know that they can't. And like, I had to get out of that because like I just
act like it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, I just
I hate that.
I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like, even today when I was promoting something, I was just like, guys, I don't promote stuff very often, like, because I'm the same way. Like, I get bombarded with all these offers, and some of them are valid, obviously, but I'm just like, guys, like, if I said yes to everything, like, that's also a thing in my whole boundary setting, is if I said yes to everything, I would go insane.
Right?
Even more than I already am. And it's so important to set boundaries in terms of, hey, like, does this align with me? Like, do I believe in it? Maybe do I use it personally? If not, then I'm not going to fucking promote it, because I have that integrity now.
Yeah. Yeah. If I get, not all the time, like the more that I turn them down, the less and less I get them. But when I started my podcast, like, people, like local businesses would like get a hold of me. I'm like, no, like, I don't.
Yeah.
No, like, I'm not doing this for the money. Like, maybe in a couple of years I'll start doing it for the money. But I just want if one person gets inspired from one episode and helps them better themselves, and that's good enough for me. That's it's really just helping people, being all interconnected, and just, we all have struggles.
Oh yeah.
Me and you struggle, kind of. It seems like we struggle with the same struggles. But other people, like, because they're not an alcoholic, they still have depression, they still have anxieties, they still have fears, they're still financially insecure, they still binge on Netflix. Some are greater than others, but like, I think what you're doing is really cool, and I want to admire you about that. I know that I really want to acknowledge the fact what you're doing, especially being a young 27 female. Like, on where I come from, if you're 27 and sober, like, your life's like, you don't usually stay sober. Your life's a hot fucking mess. Like, not a lot of women where I'm from are like crushing it. Like, I just seen you're very inspirational on Instagram, and I'm like, how the fuck is she, like, how does she have time for all this shit? Like,
I don't. Nah, it's more just, thankfully, I'm very blessed to have a very creative mind. I don't want to sound like pretentious or anything, like, oh, it's all creative, but I'm very much like, if I am dealing with something, or there's something that pops in my head in terms of, like, I drive by a Rose all day billboard and there's like, it's really problematic for some reason, then I'm able to kind of translate that into words. Like, I'm very much a huge writer. Always have been. Like, when I was little, I would go onto my parents' computer, write short stories. So
nice.
Being able to write, even if it's not like, even if I don't post it immediately, like, just being able to write it out and kind of use that as my way of processing things is huge. I feel like that's kind of what made me grow my Instagram as much as I have, just because it's very much like, it's like reading my diary. And I feel like more people resonate with that these days, especially on Instagram, where everything's so fucking curated and edited and stuff. So so just to be able to kind of remain as authentic, like, that's the biggest compliment I guess I get, or feedback, is you're really authentic. I'm like, yeah, dude, because someone fucking has to be on this Instagram. So
I'm slowly switching to, I think it's Vero.
Which one's that?
Vero.
Is that an app?
It is an app. They say it's like the alternative to Instagram.
Okay.
But without the algorithm.
Oh,
and
shit.
And that's what really appealed to me, because like, I don't care about the likes. I don't care about the followers. I just, post my shit the way originally Facebook and Instagram was supposed to be, like instant picture, photographer. It just,
and it was chronological. Like,
right? Now it's like, I don't need to know about your fucking goddamn gym training because I fucking like goddamn GNC because I thought,
right. Fuck. I know. My husband was actually laughing because he showed me the Explore page and it's literally all dogs and lifting just because of what he likes. Like, it's literally, there's nothing else but like squat video, dachshund, squat video, golden retriever. Like, no shit. So yeah, I have such a mixed bag about Instagram, especially because it has, like, I've been able to figure out kind of what works for me. I think that's a huge thing that like has allowed me to really thrive on it, is just having that niche market. But I've had to really, and this is another topic I put in my book, was social media detoxing and social media curation, of being able to say, hey, like, you get to choose the accounts you follow. It's not someone that isn't putting a gun to your head and be like, follow this person. So the fact that I became way more selective with who I follow and what I consume, it's made it so much more enjoyable, and I don't feel as burnt out on it anymore.
Wow. And right on. And you're like, I think what, like 15,000?
I will let you know. I never check. I am 12.4 thousand.
12.4 thousand. And you only been on Instagram for 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
So when did you break like 5,000 followers?
I want to say like a year and a half ago, something like that, because I got 10,000 this August. So it's kind of been exponential just because I've been able to find my voice. And because when I first started, it was actually a gym account. I wanted to just post gym selfies. And then I kind of started talking about sobriety more, but I kind of treated my Instagram Shasta Shakes as like a blog just for everything in my life. So that one day would be about like trauma. The next would be like my food for the day. So very much not, if someone was to follow me, they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, what is she trying to accomplish?
For sure.
Like, and so for me, I mean, obviously you can do whatever with their Instagram, but for me, I wanted to create a following that would be inspired and educated, not for, clout, not for just to have followers, but just to be able to reach as many people. So I was like, okay, I gotta like streamline it. So nowadays I have kind of like maybe 3 to 4 topics I talk about usually. And that has really helped exponentially grow, just because people know, like, this is the girl that talks about sobriety and burnout. Like, that's my thing. Yeah. So it's so crazy to me how strategic you have to be now on Instagram. Like you have to take a business course pretty much just to learn how to hack it.
Right?
Yeah. It's a mixed bag, dude. Like, it's given me so much, but at the same time, it's a bitch and a half to like,
right?
Try to keep up.
Right. Yeah. You love it, but you hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. I just, when I don't even know, I think probably because I searched the same stuff that you talk about. When I came across you, your content resonated with me. And like, not a lot of people are doing, like I've said, not a lot of people are doing it, and keep fucking doing it.
Thank you so much.
Keep doing it. And you have a podcast also, don't you?
No, I don't. Not yet. Maybe soon.
No? Does it not say on your Instagram a co-host of 1,000 Dry Hours or something?
Oh, 1,000 Hours Dry. That's actually a Instagram. It is.
Oh, yeah, I miss it.
Yeah, I'm a host in terms of I like host a day.
Oh, that explains why I couldn't find it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that could be a podcast one day. That'd be really fun. Could pitch that to the founder. But no, not yet. I'm trying to kind of see what, because I've been so Instagram focused, and now like with the whole ebook thing, I'm like, okay, like what else could I learn about, get good at, and then put out there. So maybe in a few years I'll do a podcast. We will see.
For sure. Well, if you're thinking about it, just do it.
Yes, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm very impulsive.
For 7 years, I wanted to do this podcast. Since I went to treatment, I wanted to do this podcast. Mm-hmm. And I was always in fear. Oh, yeah, always in fear. And then, like, with this podcast, like, I have been, people that I've been following for years, even before I got sober, like, I interviewed this guy who wrote the 531 program, and I was like,
Nice.
fuck, like I've been like, holy shit. And then just examples
That
like that. Evan Carmichael, he has the biggest YouTube channel for entrepreneurs. I'm like, holy fuck, like just the gifts, one, sobriety gives me, and two, this podcast, and like having conversations with like-minded people is just like, it's so cool. Like,
it really is. It fills my cup up, like no joke.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, I love it. It's like a really expensive hobby.
I know. That's why I call shots to shakes. It's a very expensive hobby. But I love it, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why did, like, obviously did you have any other names besides shots to shakes? But like, it makes sense. But.
Yeah, I know. People are like, what was the inspiration? I'm just like, I went from taking shots to drinking protein shakes.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I thought it was cute. I thought it was alliteration. No, people always ask, like, what was the inspiration? Like, I have this huge sob story. I'm like, no, I just thought it was catchy. That's it.
Yeah, well, you're right.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, like me, which you've already been, you've shared some personal struggles. Like, I was homeless. I overdosed on drugs. I tried to kill myself. Like being alone and not feeling like I ever was a part of anything. And like becoming into the recovery world, like it's finally something like I'm a part of, something bigger than myself, and focusing on me, like not being in that hopeless state of mind. Like, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna get out of this. I don't have enough confidence to go apply for that job or anything. So one, I think it takes a lot from the heart to share your personal struggles. So I want to thank you for doing that and opening up, and hopefully.
My pleasure. It's helped me process it too. I usually try to kind of heal through it at least a little bit before I talk about it, just because I don't want it to become like, I don't want my audience to become my crutch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So, but it has been a huge game changer in terms of just finding support. Like, even going through hashtags and looking at people or locations, like that is unheard of to me before I got sober or even wanted to get sober.
Right. Yeah. And then you do a lot of virtual stuff, don't you?
Virtual stuff?
Yeah. You're like the virtual sober sister?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I put that there just because I feel like a lot of people, when I get a lot of DMs asking like, oh, like, I don't want to tell my friends or family yet.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, I guess I am very fortunate to have very understanding parents and a very understanding group of friends. So I couldn't personally relate, but I wanted to be like, okay, I want this to be a place where people can come and like figure their shit out. Obviously, I'm not a counselor or therapist, so I don't necessarily give like, you should do this kind of thing, but just have a place where it's like, hey, like, you're not alone. I drink vodka before the charity event at 8 a.m. once. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, when I share what pain points got me here, then it at least tells people like, hey, like, yeah, you're not exactly quote normal in terms of the fact of that's not normal, but that doesn't make you broken or a fuck up or a screw up or anything like that.
Yeah, no, totally. I appreciate that. I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to do.
Wow, hell yeah. So what's your message to the world?
It's a great question. My message to the world is you aren't the only one. I would say you are not special, but that in that sense, I mean, like, your problems aren't only experienced by you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are not special. Oh shit. No, what I mean is that obviously your problems and your struggles are valid, but you're not the first person to go through them. And so that is the biggest thing. It's because they said, I forgot who said it, but it's pretty much the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. So to be able to say, hey, like, I used to do that too, or tell me more about that. I'm interested in helping you out. Like, even just having a dose of empathy is so underrated, and it's so stigmatized still. So just to be able to both talk about the stigma of addiction or alcohol abuse or problematic drinking, and to be able to remove the stigma to sobriety because I feel like a lot of people, I know I did when I was still drinking, I'd be like, oh, people that don't drink are lame, or they're boring, or you know what I mean? And so to be able to kind of play to both sides of those, where I'm able to talk about my addictive habits beforehand, and also the benefits of sobriety and the misconceptions about sobriety, both of those, it's really good for me to kind of create that message of, hey, like, this isn't some, you know, huge come to Jesus moment. Like, anyone can do this.
Yeah.
If they do the work, obviously. I don't want to say like anyone can do this, but it's possible. It's more possible than you think. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, no, totally. Before I like had any substantial amount of time, like, how the fuck am I going to get 30 days?
Yeah.
Like, laying in the fucking detox center, like, how the fuck? Like,
oh God, the DT's been there.
Yeah, it's just, you know, you're not special, but you are special.
Yeah, exactly.
So, cool. So say, you know, you're drinking, your life's blown up, everything, you're basically going to your bottom.
Mm-hmm.
If the version of you now could tell the version of you then 3 things to help you, what would it be?
So first thing, because I'm imagining Rachel that was in the hospital room after she tried to commit suicide. So the first thing I would say is, well, now you, like, the only way to go is up. I know that's very cliche saying, but
you're right.
Rock bottom is only way is up. So that's one thing. Biggest thing, number 2, probably be, you got to do this for you, because I definitely was guilty of doing it for my husband, or doing it for my friends, doing it for my parents. And it turned into a very like situational thing. So like when my husband wasn't home, I would relapse because he wasn't there to hold me accountable. So that was a huge thing, is do it for you. Like, obviously have support system, absolutely. But at the end of the day, like, if everyone died tomorrow, would you still be sober, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And number 3, that's a good one. Probably lean on people. So I know that's kind of maybe sounds opposite of what I just said, but for me, in terms of asking for help, like I ask for help. I guess that's the best way to put it, because they always say like the same kind of thinking that got you into the situation isn't going to be the same thing that gets you out of it. So for me, like I said before, I'm a very big control freak. So I always think, oh, I can like will myself to do anything. But obviously that didn't work out. So to be able to go to outside sources, people that have been there, and say like, hey, like, what you're doing right now isn't working. Here is an alternative that you can try. To be able to be open to that, like at least be willing to be open to that, is a huge step. So those are my top 3.
Right on. I love it. So where can people find you? I know we've said it lots of times, but
I know. It's all good. I am on Instagram at shots to shakes, and people can email me at shotstoshakes@gmail.com. Those are my 2 main landing platforms.
Right on. Love it. Cool. Well, Rachel, this was an honor. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you and help you with your mission.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Bye.
Bye.